We always talk about Augustinian leadership as being a role of service. In all of our men who serve in leadership positions, we always recognize that that position is a first position. Somebody needs to take the lead, but it's taking that lead in service among equals. We're all brothers as we do that. So when we look at our prior general, we recognize he's first among all of us, but he recognizes himself as our equal, as our brother along this journey.
St. Augustine in his rule talks about the superior as the servant of the community. And he really saw this service as something that was burdensome and dangerous. And so I think out of that understanding, the order has seen that while the community needs the wisdom, the experience of a variety of people over a certain amount of time, so too does the individual who's asked to perform the role of service for a period of time need some relief from that.
Throughout the world, we have about 2,500 friars living our Augustinian vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. Those 2,500 friars are divided up in around 50 or so different circumscriptions throughout the 50 or so countries we find ourselves ministering as Augustinians. The Curia, we call it the Curia, the Augustinian General Curia, really means the one that takes care of. We look after, we're the guardians of, if you will, what happens in the Augustinian world.
You serve, you might get a title like Very Reverend or Most Reverend, but once you finish the office, it's the office that gets the title, really, not the person. And once you finish that office, your office of service, you relinquish that title and you go back to simply being Reverend.
If you're in something too long, then it can become your little kingdom, and things don't change, and people get in places of positions of power perhaps, and it can be detrimental to the whole. So we do have term limits with the idea that we are serving our own, and all of us are called to that responsibility. It does provide both the opportunity for others to take on leadership roles, but also to bring a new perspective and a new vision to it.
St. Augustine has a great sermon that he gave, and he loved to look at nature around him. And he noticed that there were a group of deer crossing this stream of water, and he saw that the deer in the front would kind of be the leader, and the deer behind that one would put its head on its back, and the one behind that would put its head on its back and head on its back. Until a certain point when that leader got tired, and that leader would go around to the back so he could put his head on the back of the one in front, and there was a new leader. And Augustine borrowed that from Virgil, right? So it's something that goes back into the ancients, but it's a great image for our own type of leadership. It can be tiring to be a leader, right? And at times we need rest, but we know that we can come back into that line and depend upon our brothers to lead us.
My first year is going to be a learning year, even though, once you're elected, you go in with both feet, right? So I'm going to be relying on the newly elected council, the previous provincial for consultation, as well as the secretary. They'll be able to kind of help to keep me focused in terms of, process. Getting the lay of the land, so to speak. I mean, literally and figuratively, because I will be traveling a lot around the Midwest area of meeting with all the communities and speaking with each of the friars. I will be traveling to Canada and visiting our Canadian houses up there, and I will be going down to Peru to be visiting our missions.
One of our great prior generals, Father Ted Tack, gave me some advice when I said to him, Ted, would you be able to give some advice to a then young provincial on leadership in the order? If you're going to be a good provincial, he said, you need to spend time in prayer, in silence before the Blessed Sacrament, and you need to listen to God speaking to you and guiding you in what you should do, asking for wisdom, asking for humility. He said you need to keep a confidence, being a person who can listen to the brothers and be not only an administrator for them, but a pastor for them. A good bit of advice that I have tried to use in these 8 years and will take with me wherever I go after this.
The Prior Provincial, although he has ultimate authority, really relies on the input of his council, comprised of between 4 and 6 members usually. And we also have serving from that membership the officers of the order, the secretary of the order, and the treasurer of the order. Those are canonical roles that we fill. And so it's a collaborative effort. It's not just one person mandating things. It's really in collaboration with other members of the province who are then called to be representative of the greater body.
The constitutions of the order speak of the first concern of the Prior Provincial being in the area of vocations. So that has to be really central to what the Prior Provincial tends to in his, I'd say even daily operation.
It's organizing, it's building up community, it's encouraging, it's giving a sense of hope for the members that we see ourselves as a province, that's part of an order, that's part of the wider church.
I'm going to rely on the prayerful support of my brothers and of our collaborators, as well as, first and foremost, God's grace in all of this. There's an expression I use in Spanish, lo que me falta, Dios provee. What I'm lacking, God will provide. And God will provide it, I believe, through working alongside my brothers and building up our life together.